to us, come to us.
Fox News alert, the Israeli military executes airstrikes in Gaza, reportedly targeting a Hamas tunnel network. As conflict escalates overnight, the Pentagon mulling 120 military personnel being pulled out of that region in a, quote, abundance of caution. Here to react, Fox News senior strategic analyst and retired four-star general Keane. General, thanks so much for being here. I want to get your reaction to both what's going on in Israel overnight and the United States response in, out of an abundance of caution, pulling personnel out.
Well, I certainly understand getting our people out of harm's way. And obviously, this is a very challenging situation that's taken place here in Israel. The phase that we're in now, that Israel is facing, is they clearly, in the words of Prime Minister Netanyahu, he wants Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Those are the two terrorist organizations that are firing the rockets and the missiles. He wants them to pay a price for this, much as they did back in 2014, when he not only conducted airstrikes, but also made a ground assault into Gaza. He's moved those ground troops up closer to the Gaza border, as you have indicated. He has not launched an attack in the Gaza, and he's using those ground forces to fire their own organic artillery. And what he's trying to do in terms of pay a price, he's certainly not interested in killing any civilians, and they give civilians warnings before they conduct an attack on specific buildings. But obviously, given 2 million people living on top of one another, there will be civilian casualties. But he's after the leaders, he's after the fighters, but most importantly, he's after the infrastructure, the launches of the rockets and missiles themselves, their depot storage areas, the entire infrastructure, as you mentioned, of the tunnel network that supports all of this activity. They don't move around on the city streets. They move around in a complex tunnel network that some people have seen it, refer to it as a city underneath a city. So this entire infrastructure that's supporting these rocket and missile attacks is the phase that we're in now. And I think they'll stay in that phase until their intelligence services indicate to the Prime Minister that they've accomplished the goal they wanted. And that is a huge consequential result for these terrorist organizations in doing it, and so it's a deterrence for them doing it again.
Meanwhile, General, a different kind of attack here in the United States, a cyber attack on the Colonial Pipeline. President Biden has said it wasn't coordinated by the Russian government, but it did take place in Russia. Let's listen to President Biden.
We do not believe the Russian government was involved in this attack, but we do have strong reason to believe that the criminals who did the attack are living in Russia. That's where it came from. We're from Russia.
You know, General, there are those that have suggested if it's happening in Russia, whether or not it's coordinated by the government, it's happening with the knowledge of the government. Can we parse, should we parse between hackers in Russia and hackers connected to the Russian government?
No, absolutely not. I mean, this equivocation is really disappointing by the President of the United States. I understand he doesn't have evidence, he's telling us that a Russian government hacker pulled the trigger on this attack. Let's take that at face value. But here's the other evidence that we have, and this is the part of the story that must be told. Russia is sanctioning Russian criminal hacking activity. Why is that? One, because it significantly helps them in terms of their national interest. Why? It's disrupting and undermining democratic societies, particularly, in this case, the United States. They also benefit from the intelligence value that an attack on critical U.S. infrastructure would give them if the government wanted to do that, if we were involved in conflict operations. So this equivocation should really stop. The other thing, it's well known in our national security circles that Russian government hackers moonlight and work part-time in these criminal activities.
Right.
That is an established fact. And an attack on a critical infrastructure and scale of this size in Russia's #1 adversary, the United States, believe me, the Russian government likely okayed that attack because of the consequences of it, and Russia wanted to make certain that they understood all the implications of that kind of an attack.
And as
a result of that, here's what the president's avoiding, what you're going to ask me. What do we do about it? And he's avoiding that consequence. One, call out the Russians for sanctioning this Russian criminal activity. conduct offensive cyber attack against the criminal activity itself. I'm assuming we're already doing that because we have the capability,
right,
and that's a classified operation. Sanction the Russian oil and gas industry and go after the companies that are building the Russian pipeline to Germany that so many in Europe are opposed to and the United States is opposed to. Let's hold the Russians accountable for this behavior, or it's going to continue to explode against the United States.
That was the question I was going to suggest. I hope to go into deeper with you in the future, perhaps as soon as this weekend. But what should we do about it? That's obviously the next conversation we need to have. I hope to talk to you soon, General, about that. Thanks for your time this morning.
Yeah, great talking to you, Will.
You too.